So welcome to D365 Shop First. I'm here today, Charlie Rodgers. I'm here with the beautiful
Cam Dry. Hello.
Beautiful. No, Cam's actually one of the best people at Formers Pro. No shots fired. That's the name of the podcast, but try and keep it a bit more passive over here. I don't have a fight anyway. But no, Cam's goes to festivals too. So I'm an avid. I quite like a festival, bit of music, bit of interaction with a bit more hippie actually. Which is surprising, so in finance, the hippie side of life is probably a bit more.
You need the two sides of yourself, don't you? Yeah.
That's it. So I wanted to know a bit more about you, Cam. What's your interest? I know you're live in Bristol, you're not from Bristol, but live in Bristol, home of the music scene in the UK.
And the music scene's the reason I moved there as well, from my hometown, Johannesburg. Just to pursue music, which is really passionate about, just electronic music. I used that then dragging over to Bristol, where I was going to events and festivals. Have a cheeky bit in the sun, and I kind of stayed in Bristol, found a really good group of friends, and I work in tech now.
Pursued music, ended up in tech.
That's it.
Not too far.
Not too far away. Yeah. Writing electronic music is quite similar to writing code, I guess. Yeah, it's kind of a logical next step, I guess. But
so as Cam's kind of liaised to, he's more of was a dev heavy individual when I met you anyway, and then now you're moving more to the consultancy side.
Yeah, I still do a fair amount of both though.
So do you enjoy talking to people?
No, I don't like it at all. Yeah.
Neither do I. That's the best part about tech, is our job is only like half tech, and it's half just having a chat and getting on with people.
Yeah.
Trying to understand what they want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is
what we're talking about today, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. So how do you find as a dev that getting almost, not requirements, because they should already be requirements by the time they get to you, but how, now you're more of a consultant, how translating it is becoming for you?
Yeah, I think it's moving from pure dev, where you've been given those requirements, to actually speaking to the person and trying to work out exactly what it is that they need, and not allowing them to tell you what it is that they need as well. You are there to provide the expertise that they might need their system, but you could probably suggest better ways for them to do it. And I think, it's a give and take really. And I think the key is to get good buy-in from the customers. They really need to feel like they own the solution. They know that you're giving them advice, but they are still really in charge. And that's really, I think, how I've been able to build sort of long-term solutions that have been very quickly adopted and very easily adopted by the workforce as well, because you've got someone there who's championing it within the organization. It's not just being dropped in their lap and you kind of say, good luck, this is yours to deal with now.
How have you found the integration from dev to consultant? Because I know a lot of the devs I know personally aren't massive people. Our people. Yes, that doesn't make any sense. But our people.
Yeah, people. Yeah.
Yes. How have you found that going over to it's more of like you say, finding the requirements?
So I think, to be honest, I was always quite people orientated, I think. So my very first job when I moved over here to the UK was a door-to-door salesman. So I had no skills whatsoever. I dropped out of university.
The worst type of people.
Yeah, exactly. And I became one of those people. But, as an introvert, that was really challenging for me. And I think I was able to learn a lot of interpersonal skills and negotiating salesy kind of skills. And that really helped me, massively in my career going forward. So while I did start at Foremost in the dev side of things, I've certainly, as a dynamics consultant, I've always worked both with people and with code, I think. So I wouldn't say that I've ever really noticed the transition, to be fair.
Good. So let's hear. It's more of a smooth process, easier. That's the nice thing on the BC side for me. I don't know any code. I can read it, but when it comes to write, I'd be, before this, just a bit of a preface. I was working and these guys were having a chat, I'm joking, but these guys were talking about vibe coding and that side of things, and that's what I'd be doing. A bit of ChatGPT, a bit of Copilot, it's Microsoft,
of course,
and seeing how it goes. But I'd be able to read it, but I wouldn't be able to
write it down.
And that's a nice thing on the BC side, because on the C side, when I was with you guys for a few months, there's a lot of hybrid, not massively dev side, but there's a lot more hybrid there as in PC. I don't know any of the consultants on our side that to go a while. Maybe Mark actually quite likes coding, but you wouldn't get Pete or Graham.
Yeah, certainly.
Sitting there
trying to figure some stuff
out. Adding tables and fields, it just goes straight to the devs.
Yeah, certainly.
So I find a lot more, I don't know, you guys are a lot more hybrid than we are, I think.
Yeah, no, I think it makes sense. And C kind of opens the door for that kind of thing, really. You've got a lot of opportunity to customize it, whereas I don't know much at all about BC, actually, so I should probably ask you some questions, to be honest. But yeah, you've got a lot of opportunity for extending the functionality and just making things a little bit better. And yeah, vibe coding certainly is an answer for some of that. When you just need to quickly slap a plaster on something, But if you're building sort of, large scale projects and implementations and, really kind of complex business logic, you want to make sure that that's, someone who understands it is writing it, or at least reviewing it to make sure that the correct decisions are being made. You want to make sure that things like security are covered. Dynamics are pretty good. Well, Microsoft are pretty good for handling security for us, but you just want to make sure that no one can kind of intercept what you're doing. And then also the scalability of it to make sure if it's getting hit multiple times, in an unprecedented way, that it can handle that gracefully, I think, which vibe coding can't really do.
So someone who's been, how long have you been in the industry?
4 years in Microsoft. Yeah.
So you're at least double, mate. So you've been doing, you've got quite a lot of experience under your belt.
6 years between us. Check us out.
So,
Watch out, guys.
I don't know about that. That's not some brand of it. It's nearly professional. We'll get a nice beer in a chat. We'll do me just fine. No, but I wanted to talk to you. Obviously, you mentioned a minute ago about how you've already built some long-term solutions, and you've seen how they've been rolled out to the client and how you bought in buy-in from the client.
Yes,
my English today is not going great, but how you got the buy-in from the client and how they've adopted those solutions. How over time do you think that's become easier? Is it just knowing more of the product, or is it knowing how people work and getting those requirements more refined?
We say over time in terms of as my experience.
Yeah. So when you started, I know it was more dev related, so you would have just been given requirements probably.
Yeah.
But obviously now you're designing solutions more than you would have been before.
Mm-hmm.
How are you finding the designing of those longer term solutions fit into knowing more?
I think it comes down to seeing what goes wrong, really. Like the more projects you do, the more you see the mistakes in the late phase of the project that you remember putting in the early phase of the project, I think. And you kind of look back in yourself like 3 months ago and go, oh, damn it, And I think it's then catching those kinds of things early on in the design phase, I think. But as, I'll never be a perfect consultant. No one ever will be. But it's just about catching more and more of those things early on. And really the only thing that can teach you that is experience, to be honest. So yeah, it's definitely got easier, but yeah, I don't think it'll ever be easy to consider all the possibilities along the way.
All right, because I wanted to know the difference. So on BC, we always have to do everything we do is long term. Effectively, we don't ever do. Well, it sounds bad. When I started on C, I did support. So quite often doing like a quick fix and a hot fix.
Sure.
Maybe you don't follow exact what you would do if you were designing a solution. Right, as a dev, probably disagree, or as more senior consultant, you'll go, well, we should start that again almost and do it properly.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know how you guys in CE compared to us in BC would do a short/long-term fix.
Short/long-term fix.
Short, or long-term fix. Like, what's the difference for you?
So, yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, your short-term fixes really are going to your third-line support. That should never really make its way up to the dev side. That kind of just quickly, we're seeing an error when we take this box. Can we make it not do that? That should be a very quick, here's the existing code. We just need to edit it slightly to update that, or, drop in a Cloudflow, for example, to just quickly remove some record or something like that. Whereas the long-term fixes, you need to, if it's a lot more work, I think you need to make sure that it's all going in the right places and it's being designed with longevity in mind and with the current ongoing works as well. You want to make sure that your fix isn't going to impact any new functionality that's coming in later on. That's what I found. Sometimes there's a bit of a clash between those things, especially when you're doing solution management, like I know we sometimes do. So I don't know if that answers the question, but
kind of, yeah. You want to, like you said, for the small things you don't mind.
Yeah,
doing it, but if it's a big issue, you want to make sure you go back and really solve the problem.
Yeah, if you're adding big chunky features in, or if you're, if it's more than 2 hours worth of fix, then you really need to be planning it out. I'd say depends on how fast you are at vibe coding, I guess.
Yeah, take me
so fast, mate.
Pretty easy, really. I love pretending I can code. These shards don't have a clue what I'm doing. It really is.
Oh, dear.
No, I was gonna say because with us, a lot of the time, I guess you will too, right? But when we are doing a solution, you're doing your 18, because you've got a, if you're doing planning and warehousing and, and you're trying to really get that working correctly, in your UAT, you're going to really refine all the issues because you're going to get the errors and you're going to, sit down and be like, right, what in the process is wrong? What doesn't fit for you guys? What doesn't work? And then if you're developing on top of it, that's where it becomes very complex.
Sure.
Because if you're doing reservations or item tracking or a combination of it all, and then you're developing on top of that, it's going to be very tough. And it's one of those things that you always will in CE, right? But you always got to make sure you test it thoroughly, because if that doesn't work when you go live and the client's trying to ship out items, and, if you're selling cosmetics, for example, which I know one of our clients does, if you're shipping out cosmetics and you've gone, lot number 115 is is gone. It's with their client, and then you're like, oh well, in the system we've got an error that doesn't. We need it back. What are you going to do? You've just lost. That's gone. You're going to have to do it all retrospectively, which isn't ever what you want to do.
Sure.
So we've always got to think of long-term solutions, and there isn't ever really a short-term fix for us, from what I've seen in my experience so far.
Okay.
The short-term fix doesn't really exist.
Oh, fair. So there's no such thing as slap a plaster on it. You really have to make sure that it...
Yeah, because I mean, there's always a workaround, right? But you can always do a workaround until you've got the long-term fix in play.
Yeah.
Which I guess is technically what you're saying you do, right? Like you might do, if there's a data issue, you might do a Cloudflare to remove a file. Something like that. But ultimately, you still need to go back and
solve the original issue that caused that problem. Yes.
So I guess they're very similar, actually.
Yeah. Because there are a lot of like dependencies in BC out there. There's a lot of things that you have to, like, it's all one big dependency chain, really, that you have to make sure that this knocks onto that, And
effectively, it's like when you're implementing it, you've got your data. It might be, I don't know if it's similar. Oh, yes, you've got dependencies too, right? So
yeah,
it's going to be the same thing, you're right, where you've got to start with, you know, I mean, most clients start with items, customers, vendors. But yeah, so when you started with those, like you say, then you have to have posting groups, things like that. But you can't have a posting group for an item or a vendor that doesn't exist.
Right, okay. So
like you say,
that first,
yeah, it's all about an order, and the order of things are done are very important. So,
right.
So I mean, they're always, like you said, there's always ways to fudge. You know, you can do a config package, and there's a tick box we've got where you can turn off validation.
Oh,
if you really need to fudge them, you can.
Okay.
You can get it in.
But you long-term fix that.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's it, right? So, like I said, you can do that as a quick fix. That all that was done wrong, we can change it. But you do need to always go back and resolve the original issue.
Yes. Yeah, that caused it. Yeah. Yeah, I tend to shy away from fixing anything directly in like live environments, at least, you know, to try and, I don't know, go in and, manually rip stuff out or manually do stuff. It's best to kind of say, right, well, you guys work out a manual workaround for your process, whether that's someone like, at least people know what's happening. So that I've gone in and I've deleted this record, I've gone in and I've deactivated this. And then you can just really focus on getting a code fix out to them as soon as possible. That really should really be your prime goal, because there's very little point in fixing an issue that's just going to come back, right? So yeah, you got to focus all your energy on getting that fix out. And then once that's in place, then you can look at and automating whatever the data fix might be.
Do you find in life you are like a short-term fix or a long-term fix?
Oh, in life, that's a good question. I'm definitely a long-term fixer, I'd say. Yeah.
Because I think I'm probably quite bad for just getting that out.
Oh, it's not very good you being a builder, Charlie.
But that's where it comes from, I think. When I originally I was a roofer, I say it's just like that tile's broken up. But just like when you've done the roof, you might look back at it and go, "Oh, that's got a crack in. We'll replace that tile." But when you've got the ones above it in, you can't nail that tile in. So you just like silicone around it to make sure it's in.
Right.
But that's just a short-term fix, really, because it should be nailed.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just I am very bad for that. Let's say my car, I've got an issue with the car. Like if there's multiple issues, I'll just fix the one that's major.
Right. Yeah.
The rest can just wait.
Yeah. The one that's failing your MOT, that's going to get done first. Yeah.
Things just wait until they're major. It's quite bad for the short-term fix, actually.
So on that topic, is there anything that you've learned? Like, so you're building a house at the moment, is that right? Yeah. And you're roofing and get the roof on in the next few weeks?
2 weeks.
2 weeks time. Fingers crossed for you.
Hope there's no holes.
We got the silicone if you need it. What I was going to ask you though, is there anything that you have learned from building your house that you then like carry with you into your job as a BC consultant?
Yes, communication and planning.
Interesting.
Because if the builder doesn't tell me he's not going to do something until the day I expect it done, I'm very upset.
Right.
But if he tells me 3 weeks before, I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
So I've very much learned on the client, right? If you tell them 3 weeks in advance, oh, this dev we've told you was going to be done by the end of September, it's now not going to be done until October. They're fine if you tell them that in April.
Yes.
But if you wait until August 25th to tell them it's not going to be done, they're a bit like, whoa, we're getting UAT done and this and that. So communication, I think, is adamant and needs to happen as soon as possible. Yeah, even if it's not what they want to hear.
Yeah.
Which often, I don't know how you guys find it, but I don't think clients are normally quite good at hearing bad news if you tell them in advance. I don't think it's bad news if you tell them enough in advance. Yeah,
definitely. And there's a way of telling people as well, isn't there? You got to be nice about it. You not sugarcoat it, but you got to make sure that it's like, here we've got this problem, but this is what we've done to solve it, basically, and this is what we're doing to mitigate the problem.
You are right. You don't ever just go with the issue.
You've
always got to make sure you've got either, like say, a workaround, or we'll get this done in time for that, or
be proactive.
What about yourself? I mean, I know you're not building a house, but we spoke earlier about you're going to get trying to get a new outside tap.
Oh yeah, yeah, fair enough. I mean, that was more just negotiating with my landlord, to be honest, which I guess is also a key skill to have in consulting. I guess it's kind of like, look at the positives for you if you get an outside tap, and we'll pop out. So yeah, our poor garden will get water one way or another, whether it's me carrying the water in can out, manually myself. I guess it's gonna have to be that, but
Well, the property market's crazy in Bristol, especially.
oh,
How have you found navigating that since you moved from Johannesburg? How old are you moved?
21.
So did you move out before? But you just live on your own in Johann?
Yeah. So yeah. So I was living in a 2-bed flat, I guess. I was quite privileged. My mom was paying for my rent for a year while I was finding my feet in as a musician, because that was my career goal. So yeah, she paid my rent to live alone for a year with a studio and just write a whole bunch of music, which I did, which was really cool, and that's what launched me over here. But yeah, it was a big change to go from my 2-bed flat, which was quick maths, 450 quid a month rent, that's bills included and everything, to then go to my room in not a very good part of Bristol. Yeah, single room, like on the ground floor, for more money. I guess it was 485, I think is what I paid for my room, which was very cheap at the time, considering that was also all bills included. So yeah, it was a big step across for sure.
It costs her a lot more than
Yeah,
yeah.
things are certainly more expensive. Yeah, especially when I was still spending South African rands over here. That was hurting my pocket. I used to do this. It's probably not relevant at all. I used to do this little this comparison where if you do the conversion of pounds into rands, everything just sounds crazy expensive. But I know that a meal deal back then was £3. So if I ever heard something was like 150 quid, like I wasn't going to convert that into rands. I'd be like, oh, that's 50 meal deals, and that in my head then made sense. So yeah, making those little metaphors for myself, I think.
God, I'd hate to know what rent is in meal deals.
Oh yeah, I used to do that with houses as well. That's like 2,500 meal deals.
A great way of
Yeah,
I do that more often.
quantifying it. Yeah,
Nowadays they're so expensive. You wouldn't have to do many. It'd be like a house is 10 meal deals.
yeah. These days, yeah.
Oh, I went to M&S the other day, and it was like £5.40 for a meal deal, £5.50.
What are they doing? I just want my sandwich, Matt.
So they go back and she cried at the thought.
And that bag of crisps you get is always just air, isn't it?
Yeah, well, they do these posh meal deals though. It's like prawns in the sandwich, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't eat, but if you're a bit more of a, well, I guess you probably have. You're probably quite an exotic eater. Exotic. Do you like exotic food?
I certainly do like exotic food. Yes, my partner is very gifted in cooking for the Southeast Asian palate. So I get lots of noodles and curries, and it's very, very good. Very easy to eat vegan when you've got something like that making that.
Are you vegan?
At home I am, yeah. But
So I actually remember you saying when you first started coming to the office and you got the hotel.
Yeah.
You'd always get to like beef properly.
Exactly. And man, I'm a South African. It's in my blood. What do you expect?
Yeah. At home you'd always eat vegan, be a good man, and then you came here and were just
3 meals a day. Yeah.
all meat.
All meat. Yeah.
Whoa.
Keep the veggies off my plate. So I did have a question. So I am not, as I said to you before, I know very little about BC. I think I've seen snippets of that weird script that you write to add fields in AL. Yeah. It makes no sense to me. Is that the kind of thing you vibe code?
I try and avoid it if I can.
Safe thing to avoid, I think. So what I'm trying to understand is, so like I know from a CE point of view what CE does for charities. We're helping charities bring in donating members, we're helping them market, they're developing leads, they're managing, specific things about their charity that they need to look after. And that charities cover a wide range of sectors within the NFT sector. So, you can imagine like CE's customization for that is great. But like BC is mainly a supply chain management thing, right? So what is BC doing for, okay, correct my understanding first of all if it's wrong, and then what is BC doing for charities and how is that like important?
So we find a lot of charities that we work with, they're going to do, the lead to ops, up until quote on CE.
Right.
Because BC's, you have, but it's not great. I mean, we all know as BC it's not brilliant. So what we'd always advertise, if you can use CE, push the use of CE from lead to op to quote. And as soon as it gets to quote, BC is going to handle everything from there out, if possible. If budget and, scope is allowing for that, integration side of things. As soon as the quotes are provided, whether you're selling, I don't know, like little, I know a lot of charities do, I don't know what that's for, but a lot of charities do like the wristbands, or they do like hats or whatever it is, as merch for, to progress profits and things like that. Obviously, that's what runs as a normal business, essentially. A lot of charities then have got full-time staff, payroll, it's essentially a business, right?
Mhm.
So BC is going to cover most of it. Where you're adding things like fundraising and things like that, it then comes down to how the charity does it, whether that's does it receive letters in the post with, £10 in, £15 in, coins in, whatever it is, does it do fundraising events? Or so it all depends. Sometimes you can do it as standard BC because they'll sell products that are for charity. But obviously we just see it as a business, like you're selling this item, you're making 30% profit. That profit goes to a good cause, and when you don't hit it, but business and operation side of it is ran as a business.
Right.
But then obviously you've got some that don't do that, and that's where you'll need to then do like table extensions in AL or, and process them as fundraising tables or extensions. There'll be third-party extensions you can use for NFPs. But obviously our main focus as BC consultants for NFPs and the NFP sector in general is how can we make them more efficient? How can we reduce their costs? Because, you can only raise, let's say, £1 million a year. Obviously they can raise however much they want, but, say they raise £1 million a year on average.
Yeah.
If they're spending 400,000 on overheads, and we can make that more efficient and cut costs and automate things that, before they're spending money on, then great. If we can save you £100,000, that can go into, helping people, or, helping them get water or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
That's our main focus, is making sure, one, they're auditable, one, reducing costs, two, reducing costs.
Yeah. So would you mentioned all these kind of extensions and things, but you also said that you would take over from the quote point of view. Would you be able to do like a full fundraising charity system entirely in BC? Or would you be dependent on other systems to bring in that information into BC?
It depends how you want to do it. So how would you?
So let's just take your kind of stock standard charity model. So let's say they sell a product that they've got merchandise that they ship out to people just to make it easier for the BC side of things. They've got a public facing website that allows people to make one-off donations, or they can sign up as members maybe. So that you've got those two streams of income, and then they can also purchase additional products or anything like that. And then any membership comes with a welcome pack that comes with a t-shirt and a 3D printed snake or something like that.
So like the membership model can be fully handled by BC. That's fine. You can either do like recurring invoices, or I think now we've even got a module that's called like subscription module, membership module.
Okay.
Which they're added. Obviously BC again, new Microsoft, same as CE.
Sure.
Every time there's an update, we're getting new tables, new features. But yeah, so we can do that. The membership side of it, like I said, they're selling products. Obviously that's basic business, so we'll be able to handle that easily. The fundraising side of it's probably where it's harder, where they just do like one-off donations.
You got payments then without a product.
Exactly.
Throws BC off.
Exactly.
Right?
And they don't necessarily need an invoice. But again, like even just thinking of it now as like a solution, you could just have an item in BC, which is, like you just call it donation almost. You have it standard cost with a zero cost. And then you can still send invoices, and you just design the invoice to be like, thank you for your donation. So you could still do it that way.
We do something similar in CE, to be honest. So donations are generally products as well. It's kind of like uncapped donation or something.
Yeah.
And put in the amount afterwards, yeah.
Yeah, this is it. So you just retroactively fill in the invoice. So yeah, I mean, there's multiple ways of doing it. Like I said, it depends on budget, right? Because you can customize as much to fit that client in a way more suitable. But if it's an NFP, like you want to keep costs as low as possible, build them as little as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, Microsoft are great. I'm assuming they do it in CET, whereas on BC, like 75% off licensing and things like that. We, as Performance Pro, do a discount for NFPs, which is always good. So we always make sure we offer them as much money as possible. Glenn, for anyone that doesn't know, that does a lot of charitable stuff, whether it's doing projects solely. We normally do 1 or 2 projects a year, which is solely Glenn just gives away for free. Which is always good, as we'll assign someone to manage that project and run it as a normal project, and they'll do it at zero cost.
It's one of the reasons I joined Performance, to be honest. Yeah, let's care about these projects, yeah.
So these are, we always do everything we can for NFPs, whether it's cutting costs, giving them discounts, obviously licensing Microsoft doing. And recently we've started doing, for all clients, not just NFPs, we've started doing, I think Microsoft give you money for projects. James, am I wrong?
Not wrong, you are right.
Yeah. There's an incentive, so we always claim that back off Microsoft and then just give it to the client as free billable days. That doesn't really make sense, free billable. But obviously billable, we'd say it's normally chargeable. The client is obviously getting that money for free off of Microsoft. So therefore, the days are free. Again, we'll always make sure we pursue that for all clients, but especially NFPs, as you want to maximize the amount they can get out of the system and what they can do. Normally also because budget for NFPs is smaller.
Sure, yeah.
But the NFPs we mainly do are not massive enterprise clients, so you're not going to be able to fully build these systems. Like you say, you might innovate an add on top of BC.
Mhm.
But for most charities, there are workarounds that are suitable.
Yeah.
If it keeps costs low, I'd rather donate that money to a good cause and going, oh wow, we can. This system's more about fundraising.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really matter ultimately.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that just works straight out the box with Microsoft, isn't there? That there's the less you can do to customize the system, the more maintainable it is in the future, because not only are Microsoft maintaining that for you, but it just reduces your tech debt in the future. So it just makes it cheaper to maintain as well as cheaper to implement in the first place. So yeah, definitely gotta aim for the simple box solution where possible.
That's it. So based on what I've just told you, where we just try and keep it like you say, orders, like you can just customize the invoice that we'd send out. But like you say, when you're building one for an NFP, is there a time where you'd look at it and go, do you ever look at a solution that you've won as a CE project, let's say, for NFPs and go, I mean, you don't really know Business Central, so maybe not. But you look at it and go, oh, maybe Business Central would be better for this, or would you just customize so your solution works?
As I said, I don't know BC well enough to ever make that comparison. I also don't think I've ever worked on anything that is that practical in terms of we've got this item in that warehouse in that section of that shelving, because that's kind of what BC does, right? I've never really worked with anything to that degree of granularity, but I think there's nothing that I've come across that Dynamics or Dataverse CE can't achieve. So one weird example is my little side project that got me promoted from a junior developer to a regular developer in my previous job was I built an extension for a popular music streaming platform where I was able to programmatically extract new music for myself that I could like build it to a playlist that I could listen to, and it refreshes every day. It runs in Power Automate, and I've written some plugins behind it as well. And yeah, I've got full control over this little thing, and it runs entirely in a model-driven app in Dynamics, which, you can literally just plug anything into Dynamics, and as long as it can be represented by data, CE can handle it.
That is true. That's very true. I don't know. I was about to say I think C probably is better for NFPs, but I disagree completely in the same way.
You'd have to disagree with that
because I'm a BC consultant.
Yeah,
that is very true. Because I think it's just the marketing that lets us down in BC for NFPs, where like C marketing is going to be a lot better in the contacts and just the way you're able to look at activities and things like that. It is much more tailored towards CE. We're trying to get better at it as BC consultants and how we can improve that and how we can develop on top. And maybe we do a lot of at Formless Pro where we just develop apps first, so where we see a gap in the marketplace, whether it's on C or BC. We see a gap that we're doing for multiple clients. Sometimes it's easier just to build that as an app that, again, like I said, that you can just plug into, let's say like SoundCloud, Spotify, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
That, will produce what Cam would listen to.
Yeah.
Essentially, is that was something he wanted.
Yeah.
Right. So first thing, like you say, fundraising. I know Pete's looking at it at the moment. We're doing a lot of fundraising talks where, like I say, can we pre-build a fundraising table that would, work in the same way orders perhaps do, where you have a uncapped amount or uncapped product that you bring in, and we can roll that out as standard, therefore reducing costs for clients.
We've got quite a few of those on the CE side of things.
Yeah, we don't have too many, but obviously we're massively growing side of the business. CE's
taken off recently. BC is.
Yeah, probably twice as well. Last year, probably 3 times as big. We grew dramatically this year.
Yeah.
I think we're almost doubling in size over the last 2 years. Or maybe doubling both years.
Maybe you need to teach me a few things. Maybe I need to make the switch.
Yeah, I don't know about that. No. I mean, you're doing brilliant in CE. CE's massive. I think BC in general, Business Central as a whole, as an industry, has probably grown over the last few years. Whereas CE's always been huge. Well, not always been, but tech in general. I think CE fits more for any type of business, whether it's small, medium, or large. Whereas BC is very much for small to medium. It can do large, and sometimes it fits better for large, but as soon as you get to enterprise size, you then start looking at other solutions, thinking maybe these are more compatible for them. Like if you've got 1,000 users, I wouldn't probably advertise BC.
Yeah.
Because the system's not going to be as efficient as perhaps other things. But
so, I mean, that kind of leads me on to another question I wanted to ask you is, so I have a dev background, so I'm quite used to working with extracting data from the system programmatically and manipulating it and pushing it back into the system. So, the Dataverse web API is, really strong. We've got, the organization service in .NET, which wouldn't expect you to have worked with before, but, we've got a very strong ability to push data in and out of Dataverse and CE very quickly, very easily. What does that look like on the BC side? Is not necessarily in the techie details, but how possible is it? Is it expensive to develop? Are you able to integrate BC with lots of other systems quite easily, or is it a bit of a headache?
Depends what you're using. In fairness, depends what you're connecting it with.
Okay.
So data-wise, we can export anything we want to Excel, which when you're working with like finance, things like that,
Sure.
those people adore. They can just take it to Excel. We've got third parties like Jet, which we partner with and we sell. It's just an Excel add-on, which means you can manipulate it and turn it into any report you want.
Okay.
In Excel, which is nice and easy. And then you can integrate those kind of things, obviously with code and development into BC pages if you'd like. As in connecting it with other platforms. We can use Power Automate. We've got loads of connectors in Power Automate, so then you technically can connect to 3,000 probably.
Yeah.
Also things through Power Automate.
And you've got custom connectors, so if it's got a RESTful API, you're going into it. Sure.
Exactly. But there is a lot of development that goes into that. So a lot of the APIs we get as standard in VC aren't great for like Power Automate and things like that if you're using a Cloudflow. So a lot of the time I'm contacting, if I'm building a Cloudflow I don't know, if I want my expenses to automatically be sent to my email or Teams rather than the expense app, because I don't want to have my phone connected to work, which I imagine a lot of people do nowadays. So they'd rather just go straight to Outlook or straight to Teams. That needs, again, my dev to go, because I don't do code. I get the dev then to go in and customize the APIs and add all these fields that are missing. So it's not easy. And then Power Automate also needs, so as a CE, I was only a junior consultant on CE. So I didn't really customize Power Automate a lot. I was just using it out the box. And, whether you're, I don't know, concatenating something in, obviously you can do code in Power Automate.
Yeah.
That's this thing.
The low code option, yeah, but this very codey. It can get it.
Yeah. Low code, but you need to understand the code and sometimes use it to make it useful.
Yeah, certainly.
Which I'm finding the more and more I use BC Power Automate, the more and more I'm having to learn code and understand what it means.
Yeah,
to use it.
Certainly, yeah.
So often I'll hop on the call with, UC guys and seniors and ask, what do I actually need to do to make this bit work?
So it sounds to me then that you'd want to be selling BC as kind of like a one-stop shop, right? Because exporting to Excel, I hear you, it has its uses, but when it comes to data integrity, you don't know what's happening to that Excel file when it's been exported. You don't know who's going in and changing the data, and that could be violating all of the rules that you've spent last year building.
Yes, you can do. Jet will have like direct queries. So when you've built a report in Jet, it can, as soon as you click run, it'll go and grab the data for you. And things like you haven't got to actually export any of it. It will just go and grab it for you and just show you in Excel.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Obviously Power BI we use.
Oh yeah? Yeah, sure.
Need to learn Power BI more, I think.
Yeah, as we all.
Yeah, it's one of those things we lack on. I think it is a whole, I think everyone would probably get better at Power BI. I don't think it's probably utilised as much as it should be quite often.
I think you probably see it a lot more in like large enterprise. I think where they've got the money to burn on, they go all the way to the end of their supply chain and they go, right, what went wrong, what didn't go, as well as it could have. And then they're looking back to then make those improvements on the chain along the way. So they need those metrics. They need the quick updates to Power BI. They need those live reporting on features to really dig into their data and work out what it is they need to be changing. Probably the scale of clients that we deal with probably don't really have that need. Their money is better spent elsewhere, like actually building the features that they need. It's quite seldom that we get right to the end of a project and go, oh, we still got 100 grand to burn against, let's build a nice big fancy Power BI dashboard.
Yes, it's definitely one of the last things that I'm going to ask a client to pay for is a report, because I'd rather you just get the system working, let's get MVP stuff done, let's get you operational. Then afterwards we can look at how we can optimize the finances and like I say, we've got loads of pre-built reports in BC. I don't know, there's about 50,000 reports in BC, but we also class reports as not as you would in CE. Reports for us are also documents. It's like your invoice is a report.
Oh, okay.
So all our documentation is reports, and then you also still have like your P&L and all the basic reports you'd expect from a finance system, really. But like you say, there's a lot of stuff we could do with Power BI when it comes to, so we call it a web, like whatever's work in progress in your warehouse or your factory or whatever it may be, what's in the different bins, which in a location. So say this is a location, you might say that corner's one bin, this corner's another bin. So then you can identify what's in each side of the office.
Okay. And
then also you can do like values and things on that. But no, like you said, Power BI would probably be a lot better for that, because you could make it look pretty.
Yeah, Power BI is very pretty.
Yeah, that's what I quite like about it. It makes reporting nice.
Yeah. So if you allow me to, in a nutshell then, so just to look at BC versus CE, if you're looking to kind of would it be fair to say, preface it with that, would it be fair to say that if you're looking for like a one-stop shop, you want to have your entire system in one application, and then you can, export data out that you can report on things, but you don't have multiple systems talking to each other. BC is probably a good option because it comes with a lot of things out of the box. Very little things you have to customize, and it's going to be easy to hit the ground running with it. Whereas CE might be better if you've got maybe 2 or 3 other applications that you need to talk to, maybe like a marketing application that you need to be exporting stuff out to, or maybe some sort of web app that's bringing customers in from a website, that kind of thing. Would it be fair to say that?
In some manners, if it depends on budget, right? Again, that's what it always comes down to. Like if you're on a smaller budget, 100%. If you're on a smaller budget, 100%, because integration is never cheap. And that's always, I think, quite an obvious thing to say. The more you integrate with, the higher your costs are going to be. So BC, I love BC when it's the central repository for data.
The single source.
Yeah, single source of truth, exactly.
Yeah.
But BC is brilliant for that. And if you're integrating with nothing, BC can probably house 95% of your business within it. Not to say you can't. We've got clients, that, as I said, the cosmetics company, they integrate, they have a website, they integrate, orders come to us through another third-party app, orders come to us, all processed and warehoused in BC. And then we've integrated with shipping companies and freight companies to send those orders out. And it's all, as much of it can be automated as possible. So you can connect with 2 or 3 different services and it'll work seamlessly.
I worked on that code. I remember the pain.
But it's not easy. It takes a lot of time. So,
yeah.
It's not to say that that's simple. It's not going to be cheap.
Yeah.
But it can be done and it's very possible and it works well.
If there's a good business case for it and you've got the budget to do it.
That's what it comes down to. Like I said, we try and do as much as possible, as you said earlier, out the box. What can be done out the box? What can be done efficiently with, as little cost to you as possible?
Just setting the goal for not-for-profits.
Well, that's it. For NFPs, I think that's an essential thing. So I'd urge pretty much all NFPs, because I'd say most NFPs are, then there's not many that are massive. I don't know many NFPs that are multinational, although they probably operate in multiple countries.
Yeah, it's not the norm, certainly.
Yeah, exactly. I think 90% of NFPs could probably run off BC.
Interesting.
Although I'd say 100% can run off CE.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
which is the difference.
So you've worked more with CE than I've worked with BC. So you asked me a question earlier, I'm going to flip it back onto you. Have you ever done a BC implementation when you've kind of sat back and gone, you know what, maybe this should have been in CE?
Aspects. Like I said, we've tried to implement, we've got a CRM in BC. The budget, again, we did it, we said to the client before we started that it's possible. It is possible. It'll need a lot of work.
Anything's possible.
We'll do it at the end of the project. We'll get everything in BC done, operational wise done. And then when it comes to like your contacts and your activities and your communications with those, CE is better. So if we've got budget left, we'd rather just do a smaller CE implementation and just integrate it, like a phase 2 or 3 in a year or so's time or whatever it may be. But they said BC will do. They'd rather save the money. That's fine by us. They said maybe in a year or 2 they'll think about doing a CE implementation, as they do understand it's better. But they've already got a CRM system.
So they're just
at the moment.
Yeah,
that's it. So we just need the communications between contacts and clients, really, which is fine. So we got that working. Is it great? No, it's not brilliant. Does the job though. They've got what they need. Like I say, we've got reports to make it easier for them.
And the key really there is your data integrity. So if it's the user's experience may not be fantastic, but if they're gathering quality data, you can always work on that in the future. You can always go back and then refine it. If you've got a bad system because it's not enforcing business logic, that's really hard to go back on and fix, isn't it?
I mean, like I said, we acknowledged in the process of fitting the CRM aspect that CE would be better. But at the time, like I say, with how the business is doing, and they just wanted to save the money at the time, so they do it in a year or so maybe. There's definitely times where I look at it and go, CE would be better. And like I said, we don't really do a lead to opportunity. That would all have to be in a separate program. I mean, we can develop it.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'd always probably just say start with CE and just integrate over, because it's not very difficult. At the point you get the quote, we can then start MBC.
Yeah.
And like I say, you can just do Power Automate flows, or you can do code if you wanted. I mean, that's another question actually. I mean, it's probably for another podcast. How's a developer?
All right.
Power Automate or code?
Oh, that's a very good question. I was thinking about this on the drive over, actually. I think they both have their merits. So I've done very complicated Power Automate integrations, and I've also done very simple code integrations. And I think it really comes down to the client at the end of the day. So if, I did a very complicated integration with fundraising, which is an external website platform. that, helps people, what we were talking about earlier, events, donations, people running, fundings, that kind of thing, people to donate to their cause. And then that money all comes towards the charity. So we had the option to do that in code, but we had the person, like their head of IT, should we say, was very involved in the early phases of the project and in the actual implementation of it. She knew Power Automate very well, and she was looking for something, as you were saying, they just want to hit the ground running. They just want to get this data from fundraising into CRM and just get it working. And then they can kind of carry it, like they can run with it from there. They can update it, they can edit it. So it was kind of get us going and we'll take it from here. That was a Power Automate job to me, because you had someone there who knew what they were talking about and knew what they were doing. And actually she helped me build quite a lot of it as well, which was really cool. We were talking about customer buy-in. That was a fantastic example of that, because she understood that flow, like line by line, basically, and knew exactly what it was doing. And yet we get almost no support cases back in off that work that we've done, even though it was, I don't know if you've ever taken Power Automate to the maximum level of nesting, but I think it's like 14 layers down, I think you can go before it says, sorry, you can't add another step. So it's the only flow I've ever taken that far, but it works and she understands it. And that was absolutely the right choice for that particular implementation. I'd love to give you a clean answer, but I think, yeah, it certainly depends on the situation. I'm a fan of Power Automate for the reasons I've just mentioned, but I'm a fan of code because you can run automated tests on your integration. So you can then make sure that in all business cases, it is satisfying, the code is doing what it's meant to be doing, and you have data that backs that up. Every time a change is made to that feature, you can then run those tests and to make sure that none of your tests being violated, and that you can deploy with absolute confidence without actually wasting any QA time or anything. Someone going in and doing a full regression test, which is very important when it comes to very complicated integrations that are having to handle multiple acceptance criteria. So yeah, I think I would, if it was 50-50 between those two, I'd go code, I'd say, just because of the limitations of Power Automate. But yeah, there's certainly no clear-cut line, unfortunately.
That entirely is probably going to close.
We'll see.
Theoretically.
With the boom in vibe coding at the moment, I don't really know how well that's going to fare, but yeah, you're going to a lot of people, I know how to write an SEO function. Hey, ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's it on an interview now. They're going to be like, do you know how to code? Yeah, did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think it's something we've got to watch out for. But
So in summary, we're saying very much CE is probably a little better for charities than BC.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's to a certain stage, right? I think the perfect balance is both.
Yeah.
But you can do everything with customization.
Yes, anything is possible in both systems. For sure.
Yeah.
If you've got enough money to burn.
That's it. We're pretty cheaper.
That's probably fair. More comes out the box,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
You can do most of it out the box as a charity.
Yeah.
An NFP. Like I said, it'd just be my workarounds. So I was thinking when you're talking about the park, the fun run. I don't know how those work, but in my head, we could just do that as a job. Project it's now called. You could just set it up as a project, and they say that project has earnings effectively, and you could just sell it as an item on the project.
All very doable. Yeah.
They say so it can all be done out the box.
Yeah. So how much, I've got a few questions strung together here. So how much face-to-face time do you get with clients in the early phases of a BC implementation?
We always, depending on size of project, we'll try and spend like a week on site.
Oh wow, literally with them, understanding everything about the process.
Because
okay,
you iron out so much. Well, I guess you probably don't see too. When you're doing a discovery, trying to understand someone's business that you've never met before, you've never used, you don't understand. So we've done one recently with like aerospace. I catch planes quite a lot, but I don't understand how someone who manufactures them operates at all.
Sure.
Whether it's like what they need to prove it's safe, sale-wise, where they're buying parts from, are they manufacturing it, are they buying them in? Who knows? But I say it's so hard to learn a business like that on a Teams call. And you'd have to have a meeting with about 30, 40 different people that would just take, billable-wise, just take longer probably. It would be more expensive than just paying for us to go on site.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to spend like a day with 40 odd people, and then they're only going to summarize it from what they can remember. Whereas when you're on site, like we were just walking around the factory with A, B, and C, and they'd just be, oh, that's what we do. And then someone would come and talk to them about something, and you'd get an understanding of, oh, this person's responsible for this and this. And then you just understand, like, if I've got a question on manufacturing, this is who runs the factory. Whether on paper, they do that. And this is always the hard thing, I think, remotely.
Yeah.
As you can't understand what goes on. But there's always hidden niches that aren't on paper.
Certainly, yeah. I think something too that's really easy to forget as a consultant is that, we see, for example, a Boolean field, a tick box on the form. And to us, that's just a Boolean field. It could be yes or no, and we can trigger stuff off of it. And you see it as a very sort of mechanical trigger point or whatever it is. It's a very, very isolated, small bit of data. But, in the real world for real customers, that little tick box could mean, an 8 hour, that could be a whole day, like doing enough work to say that you can able to like tick that box. And I think, we tend to forget that. So to shorten that distance or close the distance between what we do as consultants and the product that we deliver versus its actual impact for the business, I think it's so important to have that time on site to really see what it's doing.
Yeah, and there's always little things. So like one example is when I went to Scotland not too long ago, they do a thing called unproductive tasks, like cleaning the machines, cleaning the warehouse, admin, things like that. But they use hand scanners for everything. So they'll scan on and off job, scan their name tag. So like all records of their time for them automatically, or post output for them automatically. It's a brilliant system that we developed, to be fair. Credit.
Feel humble. Yeah.
Well, I only did part of the project, so
yeah.
I'm not taking credit for any of that. But so when we're walking around, I saw them scan on and start cleaning. I was like, oh, what's this task? And then like again, because it wasn't part of this is what we need to do to sell and keep our clients happy. Exactly. It was just something that's completely, like say, we spoke to 30 people at the company. No one's raised that as even a thing that needs to be done. Because you're walking around and you're on site, you're able to see it.
Interesting.
Like I say, and if we weren't and we were just doing remote calls, would that have been picked up until it was someone on the shop floor going, what am I meant to do when I'm cleaning?
Yeah.
My time's not being reported.
Yeah. And that's going to be something that like vibe coding and AI will never be able to handle, right? It's that real world context. It's when you find yourself at actually implementing and building the system and you don't know whether to put the tick box. I don't know why I'm using a tick box example today, but if you don't know whether to put it over there or if you don't like to put it over there, because you've seen how they operate and how they use the system, that'll tip you towards the more kind of user-friendly experience where that actually makes sense for them to use. Whereas just the vibe coding side of it, just there's two boxes on the form kind of thing. And I mean, it's a simple example, but I think it applies to a lot of behavior that you see from the system. Is that if you can use the language that your clients will be using, if you can put things in places that they're expecting to see them, it's the kind of thing you can only see from being there in the room with them and understanding how they interact with their system.
And another thing that we're trying to do more and more, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen the sea guys do it, but we're trying to get access to their old system. Right. Something we're doing more and more just to understand their way of working more. Whether it's because you're trying to pick up data for them because they don't understand how to do it, or it just gives you such an understanding of what they're trying to do. So when they describe something to you, you can't just go into their system and go, oh, this is what they're referring to. How can we make this better? What do we do out the box? Like if they've got customization, so BC is a development from what used to be called Navision, which Microsoft bought and rebranded and upgraded a long time ago, but it's not very good. And back in the day, partners used to make all their money from modifications, not the consultancy side of it.
Right.
So, which is kind of the opposite now. I mean, we make money on modifications, but a lot of it's just consultancy. So a lot of people will be like, oh, we need to customize this, this, and this. And like I say, now we've got access to old systems. We can go, no, that it used to be not standard, but it's now standard, and we can do this. We can do a workflow or whatever it is. There's a lot of things you can do out of the box that obviously they don't know because they don't use BC. The same as if I asked you, what do you want your system to be for BC? You don't know.
Yeah.
You just tell me what your current system does.
Yes.
But now I'm able to sit and go, oh, that's out of the box. It gives you a much better picture of what's going on. And I almost don't know why we didn't do it earlier, but it's just something you don't think of. Like they're trying to build a new system, not just build the old one. So you always got to find that balance too when you're using their old system, not to just replicate it, because that doesn't do anything for anyone.
Yeah, like in the process map, they're probably doing this where none of this is relevant, and you could just go, why don't you just do that,
Well, that's it. Yeah, it also cuts out, like say, a lot of meetings that you just don't need to have.
Yeah.
I don't need to ask you what your VAT does because I can just go and look.
Yes.
So just save 2 hours of having a meeting or, looking through data and things like, because I can just go and look at what it does.
Certainly.
So it's a lot more efficient, a lot more money saved.
Yeah.
That's the thing we're doing more and more.
Yeah, absolutely. And you want to find those pain points from people where they feel like how many times have you looked at a system with a client and they've gone, oh, this button's always here, or I hate having to do all of this, and I'm just going to tick all these, or I'm just going to put random options into these just so it's, if people don't like their system, you can't fix that for them. You have to redesign their process and their flow in a way that makes sense for the business, but also for the person inputting that data, right? And like people are going to be so much more, clients are going to be so much more engaged with their solution if they're happy with how it works, if they know why they're having to jump through all these hoops. And if you can get rid of a whole bunch of hoops along the way, like that's only going to make things better.
It's another thing I love about being on site. As I say, you really understand if they enjoy using it, or if it's just a pain.
Yeah.
And when they're like, oh, I've got to do this, you're like, oh, okay, that's the thing we need to focus on, trying to improve and focusing on harnessing, on making the UI better.
Yeah.
Because, like I say, I don't want them looking at a system that we just built going, oh, Christ, we've got to fill in this whole page for no reason.
Absolutely.
Because they don't see value in it. You've got to make sure they see value in everything that they're doing. And anything that isn't value provided in, how can we get rid of it?
Yeah.
Or make so they haven't got to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just important to, make sure that you're only capturing the data that you need to have in. So, I mean, one of the examples that I've had recently, you've got a not-for-profit who have a public-facing website that you can then create an account, log in, and then register for awards. As part of like evidence for these awards, they've designed this like, I think it's about 15-page spreadsheet. And it's very well designed. They've got little next arrows in it and everything like that. And they've got issues with people, and their users aren't typically very technical and, are comfortable with using Excel. So they'll print out every sheet in Excel, like manually fill it in and then scan it back in and send it over. It's a reality that you have to look at. And they kind of said to us, right, so we wanted to build this Excel spreadsheet into the website, right, into a Power Pages portal, which is what we're looking at doing for them. And don't know how much you've worked with Power Pages portals or anything. A little bit of a pain, not quite as easy as you hope when you're doing more custom things. And we were looking at creating a custom entity, 3 custom entities, probably with 100 columns on, in each table. And it looked like it was going to balloon to this massive bit of dev effort that these poor people would have to go in and review and try and, to work with that amount of data. It's just ridiculous. And I kind of said to them, okay, so after the person's filled this information in and they've uploaded the spreadsheet, you've gone and you've read it, you've gone, yep, that's all good, award given. Do you ever need that information ever again? And they went, no. Like, great, keep it as a spreadsheet then. So you're cutting out all of that extra work that they maybe asked for, but it's actually making things easier for them. And I think that's another thing to always bear in mind as a consultant. You aren't there to be a yes man, right? Sometimes people might ask for something that they think will make their lives easier, but in reality, we've got the experience to say, actually, no, that's a really bad idea. Don't do that.
Yeah, like that. And that's why going in it, we'll like say, not to say no. It's going to let me show you what we can do, and why it's better.
Certainly.
And then that's what we always say on BC. We've always been taught, show them something that's better. Tell them, I wouldn't do that, but we can do this. Yeah. And then give them the choice. Yeah. They still want to choose the bad option at the end of the day. They're the client. You can't, you can only inform and advise. You can't force.
That's true. That is true. Although I've been quite politely forceful. But I think it comes down to, again, it's these interpersonal skills, right? You got to be able to be a good negotiator. Like, there has to be a good reason why, like, you stood up and you said, no, that's not a good idea. And like, if you've got really strong opinions as to like, this will destroy things, like, oh, this is going to be horrible, it's going to create a lot of problems, you need to be able to back that up to the client in such, like, build a relationship with them to have that ability to be like, trust me. It's trust at the end of the day.
Trust and like respect that they understand you know what you're on about.
Yeah, that's it.
So I'm not going to tell you to run your business.
Yeah.
And so trust me, like, this isn't a good idea.
Yeah, we've done this before. We've seen this problem. This will happen. And if they go, don't worry, we've got that covered, then yes, you do have to go find the other client. I understand. But I think it's important to build that relationship with people early on before you have to start saying those kinds of things. So yeah, it's the trust and respect.
Sometimes I think it builds more. Like when they're saying, oh, I want this, and you go, oh, trust me, it's not great. Like just saying no, and just being honest. They're like, okay, that's fine. Yeah. And they'd rather just the truth, and you go, yeah, we can do that. And then it's crap. And then they're like, well, he doesn't have a clue what he's on about. Yes. He's just built everything I've asked for, and it's yes. Sorry, you're gonna have to. But yeah, that's the issue, right? Like sometimes I know a lot of people who aren't consultants. Like I said, if I ask them something, if it's the wrong thing, they probably just, oh yeah, that's fine, because it's easier than just arguing about it or disagreeing. Arguing's probably the wrong way. But
you got to have those tough decisions, man. Like it only pays dividends in the long run.
That's our job.
Yeah.
So, I mean, have the hard conversations.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather have one now than in 6 months you tell me the system doesn't work because we just built what you asked for.
Yeah. Exactly. And you've got bad quality data that you then have to go and try and refine, and you're just making more work for yourself in the future. Just like vibe coding.
Yeah, I'm very against vibe coding. I don't do it. It's like I haven't really got much of an opinion against or for it.
I've just got to let out my inner boomer. It's the one thing I'm allowed to be stuck on my ways
It's not
about.
fun, AI.
I do use it, but for very specific things.
He's vibe codes, and he just admitted he's a vibe coder. Put that on the web.
Put it on the web
for everyone else to know.
Oh dear. No, it definitely has its uses. It's important for. Here's how I use it. So I use ChatGPT. I use it as a calculator because that's what it is, right? It's a big word calculator. That's how it does its thinking behind the scene. When I'm building, let's just say, a big integration between 3 different systems, right? I've got all these different rules that I need to adhere to push data in and out. I need to make sure that I'm considering the platform and the infrastructure that my integration will be running on, and the protocol, security, all of that kind of thing. And then obviously keeping a thin budget. I don't have time to, or like the head space, the bandwidth is the right word, to like stop what I'm doing to go and Google some syntax on how to, like, for a hashing table, for example. Like, it's not something I've natively worked with, but in some instances it's needed. I don't really know how to set it up instinctively myself. So I just go to ChatGPT. Please, can you write me a function that can take in a string as an input and return me the hash value as a, very, very simple in, out, 5 lines of code, copy, paste, and then copy, paste, and then we go back in and refine it later on, and one thing about vibe coding that I think it's useful, as long as you can explain to a senior developer who's reviewing your code why each line is in there. If you don't know what your vibe code is doing,
then there's a serious problem.
There's a serious problem. And that's what pull requests are. People see pull requests as like a big gate that you need to walk through and get approval to go through, but it makes the coding experience collaborative. Like, not only does it make sure that good quality code is going in all the time, but it also is a place for you to ask questions. So I will often, as a senior developer, will ask questions to juniors and to regular developers who're submitting code. Why have you chosen to do this like this? I'm not saying it's wrong. I just want to know why, because maybe I can learn something. Maybe I can do something differently. But if you don't know, then that's also a problem, So it turns that into a collaborative experience where coding can be quite a headphones on and not speaking to anyone for 8 hours, which is why I love it. But yeah, it's an important part of the process, I think, which we need to spend more time on. I think, a lot of people gloss over that detail.
And enhances, the developer's performance at the end of the day and their ability, which is more important, especially for the juniors.
Mm-hmm.
And normal consultancy even that are learning the dev side of things.
Yeah,
I think that is important.
But I mean, if you've got a junior submitting a pull request and there's not at least one comment on there, either the person reviewing the code is not doing a good job, or that person shouldn't be a junior anymore. Really,
I think they're brilliant.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, right. So it's one of the other, and I think it's also just another great place to kind of just keep an eye on each other and making sure that you're all working on the same code together. So you all be working on the same standards, using the same formats, using, the same approach and the same thinking. And it's just another way to align on that.
Very good. Well, I quite enjoyed this, Cam.
There you go. Likewise. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Teaching me about the dev side, which is quite nice, actually.
Yeah, you should do more of it. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm not gonna agree to that. So I'll agree to it on here, then in a month I'll forget about it, and I'll get put to do some dev. I'm going to agree to that. But thank you very much. Time to grab some food and we'll enjoy it. Thank you very much for listening.
Yes.
If anyone that is listening, sorry I'm not looking to you at all. We're very much enjoying Cam's view. But
who wouldn't want to look at this gorgeous?
Can't buy my lip. That's outrageous. Thank you very much for listening. I've just been Charlie.
I'm Cam.
Thank you very much.